Power Project family, how's it going? Now, we've been working on strengthening our feet for a while now, which is why we partnered with Naboso Technology. These are the mats, these are the balls, these are the things that you see us standing on during the podcast. And the main reason why is because of the texture on the mats helps drive sensation and stimulation and blood flow to the bottoms of your feet, which is going to be super important as you're trying to get more out of your feet over time. The Neuro ball, which is what they also have on their website, is 2 different balls connected together, but you can smash your feet against it while you're working, while you're sitting, while you're chilling. These are all things that you can do passively so you can get stronger in the long run. Andrew, how can they learn more about it?
To learn more, you guys got to head over to naboso.com. That's Naboso.com. And at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save 15% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
And probably amazing at jiu-jitsu.
He's a black belt, man. Yeah, no. Tyler Berry used to tap me up all the time. Are we on?
Yeah, we are now.
Guys, we're going to talk about...
Who fucked up with the camera? Hold on. Go ahead. Sorry.
Is it the one that I broke when Bill Maeda was here?
No. Oh, I guess so. Go ahead.
But actually, we should pull up our boy Tyler. We had him on the podcast a bit ago, but he's a savage.
I saw him. He was like in some of that bodybuilding movie or show. He was
a Generation Iron thing?
It was something you mentioned to me recently, and then I went to check it out, and he was on there. What's that show called? Netflix show?
He was on that? Oh, fuck. Yeah.
It was like
something bodies or I texted it to you guys.
I cannot remember what the hell it was called.
But there's a very cool Netflix show that you guys should check out. It has like a bunch of it's human something.
Human suffering?
No, not human suffering. God damn it. This doesn't help our case. Retention. But anyway, he was in it.
Please help us get through this weird lull by hitting the like button.
Yeah.
Because we're going to need it really bad right now.
Also, if you guys are interested in what Mark's wearing right there or what I'm wearing right here, I don't know if these are up on the site yet, but
not yet.
Powerproject.live for the microdose tee and the Think Less hoodie.
And
a sick ass color.
And you going to tell them about the purple G-string that you're wearing too? That banana hammock, that looks great.
Well,
strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. I did not think that was going to fit on the front, but you did a great job.
It's because I have a small dick. But this micro devil pussy mug is also there. See us sipping out of this, or I'm more so sipping out of it.
I need to get me one. I still don't have one. You guys know somebody?
Yeah, we know a guy.
I actually don't know how to get one.
You got to go on the website.
I know. But then, there's a couple hoops I got to jump through.
The fuck was that show called?
Okay, so what?
Are you talking about the one where they used roid rage as a thing? Or no?
That's that bodybuilding murder thing? I haven't watched that yet.
It's like Sally, whatever. She...
That's the one.
Yeah, we actually need to finish that. You guys should check that out too. I'm typing African wet wrestling Netflix. What the fuck? Okay, no. Senegalese
African wet wrestling.
Okay, not wet. Senegalese wrestling is a form of grappling that's like big in Senegal, but they had this on that show, and I'm about to find the name. But Tyler was in it.
He was, yeah. He was like they had a couple bodybuilders that were in wheelchairs, and then I was like, I bet you Tyler's in here. And sure enough, there he was. He's in there being all fucking jacked and everything.
See what happens when you come on the Power Project?
That's right.
And get your own Netflix show for documentary.
Human Playground?
Human Playground. There you go. That's what it's called.
Oh, yes. Human Playground. Okay.
That's what it's it. That's
what it's called. Yeah.
Human Playground. Kaboom.
Damn, which episode was he in?
I don't know. Whoever the one has bodybuilding in it. I don't know. The only one I saw.
That's so cool though. He was on Netflix.
Mark's like, wait, there's episodes?
Can you pull up Tyler so people can see what the fuck we're talking about? He ended up changing his name.
I know.
Because probably someone got pissed. It used to be Black Belt Bodybuilding Cripple. But there's probably someone who was like, that's not kosher. You know, you can't say that.
And he had to change it up.
Well, that's good. I remember I reached out to you. I'm like, hey, is he cool? Like, because he changed it to, cripple. And I'm like, like, hey, like, is our boy doing well?
Nah, Tyler's just that kind of dude. Black belt bodybuilding. Tyler, like, he used to tap me out so much when I was a white belt, even a blue belt.
Look at this guy.
Damn.
I was like, this guy is fucking me up. And he weighs 130 pounds.
Wild.
Tyler's ridiculous. Y'all should check out his IG because his pressing strength is so ridiculous. And we also did a podcast with him, which was really fucking dope.
Yeah,
But
he's the man.
he is awesome.
So Andrew was just getting his feet wet with some jiu-jitsu, and I think that's a good thing to kind of center in on for today. You know, people getting started with stuff, and then also like, I don't know, like how beat up you get, and should you lift? Should you run? Should you chill? And can you do anything simultaneously to improve it, or you just got to like sit and wait? And is the only cure to get on the mats as often as your body can handle?
Yeah, I'm trying to navigate that now. I do. It's so weird. It's the worst feeling ever because, like, on the days that I don't go to jiu-jitsu, I feel like a total piece of shit for not training. But that day, I feel like my body has trained harder than I ever have because I'm so sore. So I'm like, maybe I'm waiting, and this is probably not the best approach, but like, I'm waiting for the soreness in the body to kind of get acclimated to the new stimulus, which I have a feeling will probably never officially happen just because jiu-jitsu, there's so many variables.
It will happen.
But you know what I mean? Though, like, I'm always going to feel like, oh, dude, whatever happened, my neck and shoulder are kind of like a little tender today or something. But as far as like my body's like energy level, like I'm kind of waiting for that to happen because like even today's Sunday, like I feel way better than I have the past like 2 weeks. So that's already way different because like this Friday, I was like an actual person. The Friday previous, I wasn't turning yellow like the other Friday, but I was just wrecked. You know, I was like a zombie. And then this Friday, I was like, I feel pretty good because I listened to Cassio's advice, in which basically he was kind of explaining like for an open mat session of like 6 minutes, I'm just going all out for that 6 minutes because it's like, you know, the timer's going down and I have this much energy for that whole thing. But he was like, oh, well, imagine you were going to go for 2 hours. Then you'd probably slow down. Like, that makes a lot more sense. And because I don't know shit, well, I mean, I know a couple things here and there, but like the technique and the skill isn't there. So it's like, why am I in such a huge hurry to do nothing? Like, how about I try a couple things or try to just escape, do whatever I can to survive, and then move on and learn the next thing instead of like, oh, I know this one arm bar from the bottom and I'm just going to keep fighting for it until I get it.
Why'd you decide to start jiu-jitsu?
Oh man, numerous reasons. I'll try to summarize it as quick as possible. There was just a couple guests all in a row that just kept without telling me directly. They were yelling at me that I need to start, right? And this happens often where like, you know, we'll get a string of guests that comes in and it's like they keep saying the same thing over and over that hits me in the head. I'm like, okay, fuck. I mean, you've always been preaching that I need to get into it, so that's definitely a part of it. So there was Bedros talking about like neutralizing the guy on the plane that said he's going to kill everybody, including his family. So that was freaking huge.
Choke the motherfucker out.
Yeah, that's freaking cool. So there's the family aspect and the self-defense. Of course, that's definitely there. What was it? Oh, Mark, you were talking to your son, Jake, and I think you guys were at like a concert or something, and you're like, look at all these people. I've lifted more than all of them. You know, everybody here, I've lifted way more. And if you get proficient at jiu-jitsu, he's like, you can hold your own against everybody here.
You're right.
And I'm like, oh, like that's so
you
cool.
can feel really safe. I mean, you
Yes.
know, if there's like a brawl, there's not much you can do about that because there's so much mayhem, so many people fighting. But if somebody confronts you, you can protect yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 100% that. Confidence, again, feeling comfortable, self-defense. But then my son, you know, like I want him to do jiu-jitsu. And if he's anything like me, then he has to like watch dad do it first, or he has to understand that like this is safe and it's effective. Kind of like with our exercise. Like we're probably not going to have to tell him to exercise or move because
your dad's a mechanic and you're into cars.
Exactly. So it's like he sees us moving, so he's going to move. If he sees me do jiu-jitsu, he's probably going to do jiu-jitsu. That's my hope. So my son was kind of like the last really, really big straw for me to get into it. And then, of course, like the confidence and all that stuff, but like doing something like that I've never done before. So like I did Muay Thai for a tiny bit, which was fun. But it was like hitting mats and stuff. Like sparring was just like, oh, we're going to do leg checks and shit like that. It wasn't anything serious. So the thought of having a dude on top of me or me be on top of another dude trying to like neutralize him was like so foreign to me. But because of that, I'm like, dude, what the fuck happens when shit hits the fan? You know, like what happens if I do need to protect the family and I got nothing, you know, and it's just like mano y mano, you know, I'm like, what am I going to do? Like be like, oh, I can do a podcast really, really well. Please don't, murder us. So
you can probably just prevent a fight from happening.
Right.
Because I think sometimes, I mean, there's people that are dumb, but like usually people can kind of read, if you and I were like to square off and I for some reason was mad at you and then I saw how confident you were, I would probably be like, you're lucky he's holding me back.
and why is this guy so calm right now?
Yeah, I would be like, yo, I'm cool. I actually am mad at that other guy over there.
Yeah, and then the whole like like the fight or flight thing. Like if I know nothing, it's like I'm gonna be really paranoid and like sporadic if somebody comes after me. But if I know something, maybe I can like diffuse the situation, right? Like because I know I could neutralize it. Maybe I understand that like I can like talk somebody out of something, right? Just because I have the confidence for it, and again the demeanor of like showing that like I'm not really afraid of you. Like that's very important. So the confidence, basically. Again, I am the youngest in my family, so my immediate family, and one of the youngest, like amongst all my cousins and stuff. And growing up, you guys know, like I talked about like how skinny I was, and so getting picked on, like kind of getting bullied here and there without really like taking it too serious. I try to laugh stuff off, but like I was never like what's the word? Not feared, but like because I wouldn't want to be feared, but like nobody would take me serious if like. Something broke out or if I got mad, So again, just kind of understanding and knowing how to handle myself and how to handle someone else if shit hit the fan. Like it's very, very important. I think a lot of dudes should have that just so that way when stuff does happen, they're not scared or freaked out or, pulling out a gun or a weapon or something and relying on that and really, really hurting somebody and themselves and their own family. So all of the above is really kind of was what got me into jiu-jitsu.
It's also why it's great to have the ability to run.
Yes,
let's be real.
Yes, that was another thing. Remember I was talking about that, like how crappy it would be if like I couldn't run to save my son, I pulled a hamstring or something.
Not just run to save your son, run the fuck away. Like if someone's stupid enough, like, okay, if you're out with your family, that's a different case. You're not just going to run away. But if somebody is going to if somebody came up to me and was like, motherfucker, what's up? What's up? I'd be like, sprint the fuck away. Like, because like, again, if someone is confident enough to come up to you.
They know something you don't know.
They may have a weapon.
You might have somebody watching across the street.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, I've had a weapon pulled on me before. Luckily, nothing happened. But like, people are crazy out here. But if it does come to the case where somebody is stupid, they're belligerent or whatever, and you need to put them down, jiu-jitsu is one of the safest ways to do it. Because if you strike somebody and they hit the ground, you can fuck them up. But if you can choke them, and there's a lot of people, there's so many videos of people quelling down a situation because they knew how to grapple somebody.
It's really odd too, because all of a sudden there's like rules. Like all of a sudden the guy will tap. And it's like
they would.
Yeah,
because and there's usually like another buddy there who's like, no, my friend's gonna break your arm.
Yeah.
Like, are you good? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm good. And then they finally tap. But I've seen that like with leg bars or knee bars and leg locks and different things. And it's like, it's like, when were there ever rules in like these fights? But now there kind of are, because you don't know who you're going to be tangling with.
Yeah.
And it was the same deal actually when I started, because like I've always been big, right? But I never really like, I knew if something did happen, I could probably defend myself kind of, but if something really did happen, I really didn't have the skill to do that. I was just a big dude, so luckily no one was really going to try to step to me. But there is a confidence aspect now, because I'm not going out looking for fights. I'm actually the calmest I've ever been. But if somebody did, and if I had to fight somebody, I'm very confident I would have no issue dealing with almost anybody.
It is funny what you said, Mark, about like rules, because it's like like we'll say like two kids in the schoolyard will start fighting. Everyone's all down and watching, and they see the little kid and they see the bigger kid, and all of a sudden the little kid puts him in an arm bar. Then everyone's like, oh, wait, you're going to break his arm. What are you doing? Hold on. It's like, what? But 2 seconds ago, you guys were like, oh, we're going to see this kid get knocked the fuck out. And then now it's like, oh, wait, you have a superpower. Like, okay, never mind. Now it's not fair or whatever.
If you rip someone's like ACL, I mean, that's expensive. It's an expensive trip to the hospital. That's a compromise, maybe a compromised life. You don't know. I mean, maybe you apply something and it tears a lot of stuff in the guy's knee rather than just like one ligament or something. And
then you get sued.
Then there's that, right? So it's getting away or trying to run away or something. I mean, those are good options, I think. having the confidence, we talk a lot on this show about having a capacity, and it's really just a wonderful thing to have a capacity to be able to feel like you're proficient in, any of these situations that you might run into. I think one of the tough things when you're trying to like learn some of these things is sometimes people don't know like how to start or where to start. Like what gym do I go to? Like how do I know if an instructor's good or like, but a lot of those things can be like if you're paying attention and you listen to people, like you said, multiple times, it's kind of get mentioned to you, then you just think like, well, what's a place I'll actually go to? Like what's something that's close to me? So then you find something that's close-ish to you, find something you're comfortable with. Maybe somebody out there that's listening, maybe they live in the middle of the country and maybe there's not tons of jiu-jitsu everywhere. Maybe they have to do it in the back room of a gym for a little while until they find a better location or better instructor. But some start is better than none. And we know, like, just get started. I'm not really still that interested in jiu-jitsu, but it will click in at some point. I know that I'll be down with it at some point. But like, if you look back at that clip of when I was doing stuff with Jason, that was like 6 years ago. So imagine even if I just did it like once or twice a week, pretty casually since that time period, I would probably be decent at it at this point, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So, I'm on day 68 of running, and 68 days ago, I was less proficient at running.
You gonna do something special tomorrow?
I think so. I might call you up. You know what I'm saying?
Mark, don't say it on air.
Oh, yeah. I thought Andrew was supposed to bleep it out.
God.
We're live. I can't bleep it out.
These deadly moves by me. Look at this. This is something to be feared.
Lock it in.
It's so funny because I don't even know if I have somebody like in an actual hold. And then I'm like, wait, like how much pressure do I, like the guy's elbow seems like it's kind of extended already. Like, and then the guy's not tapping, but then you're like, I'm new, so I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, the body awareness. Like whether it's like what is it like when they're like this and you're like arm choke hold or something.
Head and arm choke.
There you go. See, I don't know the lingo still and all the terms, but like I'll be like, I think it's in. I'm not sure, and I'll keep cranking and be like, no, it's definitely not in. And then like the training partner or somebody will be like, dude, it was right there, and I'm like, fuck, know. So like what you told me, you're like sometimes you gotta just like have a good poker face and like don't let them know like, oh shit, he's about to tap me, but if I keep it cool, then I'll be all right. But like I'm still at that stage where like somebody's going for something on my gi and I'm like, stop. I don't know what you're doing, but stop it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we're just fucking with you. I'm like, okay, cool, thanks. But yeah.
So I sent you a video and it was like, I think one of my first days of jiu-jitsu. It's that video where like that black belt that was half my size fucked me up many times, and he did that many times for months on end. But one of the things with jiu-jitsu is that a lot of people wonder, what do I need to do before I start? And we talked about it when Jason was here. If you're interested in starting jiu-jitsu, just start jiu-jitsu, but be kind with yourself. And you can scroll through. It's like
I just wanted to point out, like, look at your feet. Like,
oh yeah, my feet are so different. That's some 265-pound feet first off. But also, yeah, dude.
Look at that little pinky.
I'm so happy you have this up because like I don't have any old videos of my feet.
Yeah.
But the toe spread I have, the tendon thickness I have now, the tendon thickness we all have now.
But I mean, even look at like your big toes kind of looking away from the other big toe, and now that's definitely not the case.
Yo. Guys,
that's cool.
Start getting on that feet.
That's another thing too with jiu-jitsu is not that you weren't in great shape already, but it helped get you leaner, right?
Oh yeah. Over the years,
it helped your metabolism a lot.
Yeah, that wasn't old and bad for 265. Okay, but yeah. Over the years, I think it took me about. I wasn't even trying to lose weight when I started jiu-jitsu, but I started at 265, and for the past. Since around 2017, I've been around the same weight, 250, 240, 250, but my body compositions continued to get better year by year. But what I was going to mention was like, you should just go in and start because there's no level of, like Andrew, you've been doing GOTA stuff, which has actually prepared you well because it's a lot of mobility, but there's really nothing that's going to prepare you for all the different types of ranges of motion that your body gets into. Like Andrew, you have fresh experience on that, and people can understand and hear some of that.
Yeah. Did you want to play this video, or do you want me to go into that?
Oh, you don't even need to play the audio side of it.
I'll just let it run.
Yeah, just let it run. I just get tapped a few times.
Yeah. So like right away, the mat burn on my feet, like it was so bad the first night that I couldn't even walk like the next day. It was so strange. I'm gonna put a post on my Instagram eventually, but like I also had this like weird like contusion thing on my like shin knee where it looked like I was growing another knee.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like I didn't even remember. And that's the thing, I don't remember any of it. I just looked down and I'm like, oh, like it's all there. So the mat burn and the feet stuff is initially like the first thing that felt just awful because it's like second-degree burns on your feet, on the top of your feet. But other than that, not other than that, but also my hands, especially now with the gis, like I'm getting cuts on my hands just from death gripping too much. My fingertips and my fingernails, my toenails. I got a toenail that's black still because it bent my nail up and back, and like it got bloody, and now the blood's just kind of sitting there under the nail, which looks kind of cool, but it doesn't hurt, so that's great. But the thing that I think is the biggest surprise has been my knees, because I did have tendonitis in junior high also. Like I had Osgood-Slaughter, but
you did?
Yeah, it's just I wasn't.
Twins.
Yeah, I just wasn't like after 8th grade. I wasn't very active, so it wasn't like that big of a deal. But since then, I haven't really had any knee issues of any kind. Like I've been pretty good. My right knee will kind of swell up from time to time, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
However, in jiu-jitsu, being in like that position that you're in right there,
he has me on knee and belly.
So trying to get your knee to his, belly basically is like where I'm trying to live. And I've never been so compressed while trying to push out on that knee, nor have I been on my knees and trying to get my knee down somewhere so fast. Like Cassio was like, you're trying to like really stomp the ground with your knee. He's like, you don't have to do that, but I am doing that.
Yeah.
So the physical touch of my knee really freaking hurts. And then I think it has something to do with the, is it called the QL angle? The Q angle of my knee. So like my thighs go in and then it hits my knee and then it goes out.
Yeah.
So when I have somebody in guard, I think it's like pushing out against my knees.
Okay.
So it's almost like it's correcting it. So I'll just get random aches there throughout the day now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what it's from or what. Oh man. But so my knees have been like the biggest thing where I'm like, oh shit, like I think I'm gonna have a hard time today. Like like sitting down, like sitting on this kneeling chair is like, after a little bit, I'm like, oh, I have to get up. Like it's pretty bad. So thankfully with cold plunge, it helps, but it doesn't help like forever. So like I have to keep doing that while still trying to get used to everything that you guys are seeing on screen right now, which is like I have to get my body acclimated, and I have to understand like it's like I can get from point A to B at like 60%, not 100%, probably more effectively, because then I can get to the next spot even faster than if I was going 100%.
Yeah.
So these little things, the nails, the knees, the hands, and thankfully, I think this is just a testament to like being somewhat in shape, is that like the rest of my body's okay. Like my shoulder kind of has a weird thing, but like my neck's not really sore anymore after like the first couple days. My back's doing great. Everything is doing fine. It's just like some of these weird, like kind of like annoyances where I'm like, oh, my knees hurt. This is so strange.
And this is one thing about all of this with anybody who chooses to start, is that your body is moving in a lot of and getting put in a lot of positions that it has been put into. If you can even remember what what DOMs were when you first started lifting, this is exactly what that is. When we all first started lifting, if we did chest one day, our chest would be on fire for a few days. If we did back on one day, back would be on fire for a few days. It takes months and months and months for those DOMs not to be as prevalent, especially with something like this, because it's way more variable movement than a lot of the stuff we do in the gym. It might take you half a year for the DOMs not to hit like they used to. And there's a few recovery things that you can do to speed that progress up. At the end of the day, that's how it's going to be for a little bit.
And if you were to just mimic some of these movements, I think your mobility would increase, even without an opponent. But you can kind of think about it like you're doing like almost like a form of yoga / myofascial release, because people are digging their elbows and their knees into your body as you're trying to move and rotate. you're doing that all while working on mobility, but also while working on self-defense and working on your own offense. You're also getting a good workout in, you're burning calories. So it's like there's just a lot of things going on at one time. But if you look at so much of jiu-jitsu, I mean, you have moments where you're on the side of each other a lot. But primarily it's like one person's mounting the other person. So one person's legs are open, or the other person is in the other person's guard and their legs are open. So if you think about like riding a horse or something like that, like it can be challenging on those muscles. Over time, it's going to help. It's going to help those muscles to open up. If you were just to, go to the gym and like fight against the ground, even that very act without another opponent would probably increase your mobility a lot. We've been messing around in the gym more recently with like bear crawls, bear crawl forward, bear crawl backwards. And crab and things like that. Those movements, they're kind of getting worked out and kind of getting worked on a lot when you're doing jiu-jitsu. And then you find yourself, even for me, with the small amount of jiu-jitsu I've done, they're telling me like, hey, get your foot over there. And I'm like, what? Like I heard what they said, but I'm like, I don't think my foot goes over that way. But sure enough, over time you can do it. And it's like you're leveraging your body off of somebody else's, but plus I think because of the way the range of motions are, you'd be surprised and shocked how quickly your body can start to adapt and adopt to some of the mobility.
Yeah, that was the other thing I forgot. My hips, especially on my right side, that same right side where the right knee is like really, really bad. Not really, really bad. Sorry. It's just I've noticed the pain the most on this right side. I'll try to pull guard, but the more experienced or upper belts will be like, I know what's happening here. And so like they'll go like knee straight to like inside of my knee, and then open up the other side with like their body or something. So like I'm doing like the splits with my knees, crunched in, and that's like an instant like that's my hip. Like shit, how do I get out of here? So now I'm learning how to like grab the collar and put my knee into their chest, which, I'm still not quite perfecting it to try to get that sweep. Yeah. But how long ago was this? How many years ago?
This was pretty much when I started. So probably almost 7 years. It'll be 7 years come December.
Wow.
So it's really cool just seeing kind of how the shit has changed in terms of the way I move. And we've been getting into a lot of movement stuff over time. And I think one of the biggest things is as you age, how can you make variable movement, part of your habits so that as you get older, you have access to ranges of motion. Some people choose to go to yoga. Some people choose to go to Pilates. Running in and of itself is a form of movement that's unique that I think it's great that we're all doing and we should do. Striking also. But I think jiu-jitsu is really cool, and it's a really cool thing not to just do for self-defense and for a short amount of time, but it's a cool thing to be able to do forever just because you get into so many different types of positions that you're not going to typically do in the gym. Like you can crawl and you can stretch and you can do these things, but there's so many ranges of motion that you won't get into and things you just won't do other than probably when you're grappling with another person. And if you do it safely, you're not the fucking ADCC weekend warrior, right? But if you do it safely, you can go train, you can go spar, you can go home unscathed. It's just, I think one aspect is choosing your training partners wisely. That's why it's really awesome at Cassio's school. He doesn't let white belts roll with white belts because the person who's probably going to get you injured is the person who doesn't know what they're doing. And who is that? It's the white belt. I've injured a few people as a white belt. I'm not proud of that, but it did happen because I was inexperienced.
Mm-hmm. The same thing used to happen in pro wrestling. We would call it being green. The guys that were new, they're trying to prove a point. They're trying to show how high they can jump. They're trying to show how good they are at these movements and these, they're trying to be spectacular for the scouts and the agents, and they're trying to get called up to the WWE, and it's going to be at your expense, and they're going to fuck you up somehow. Mm-hmm. And so that was always like, at least in that, profession, you could give the guy what they would call a receipt. So you just hit the guy really hard, basically, and the guy would be like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, dude, calm the fuck down. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. And you can kind of rein things back in. And there was a hierarchy too. Like, you know, if Nsima's new and he and I are working together and I've been wrestling for longer, he's not really allowed to beat my ass, even though he could. You know what I mean? Like, he's not allowed to just, like, if I clock him because he's green, he's not allowed to just knock me out. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I mean, they've had situations like that happen before, but they usually just boot your ass out of there. They don't like tolerate that.
Yeah,
kind of
there's
stuff.
like a pecking order, right? Yeah.
But this is the unique thing that actually does happen. And for anybody in the audience, a lot of you guys strength train. So maybe you got some good muscle on you. You look good, right? You look strong. Well, when you go into a new jiu-jitsu gym, there will be a few people who are like, oh, that guy's strong. Let me see what
I've seen this guy before, and that's the guy who stuffed me in my fucking locker.
Yeah.
That's the guy who gave me a wedgie and hooked me up on the doorway.
He's the reason why I'm here.
They get all their high school anger out on you. I think you've been experiencing this. I've experienced it when I was a white belt, because like when they see somebody like Andrew, you're built, like you're 180 something pounds, you're built, you move well. So, and it happened to me, like there'd be some blue belts or some purple belts I'd roll with, and I'm like, I'm trying to learn, and they'd be like, let's learn, and they would fuck me raw.
That bicep vein don't mean shit around here.
They would destroy me. And every time after the roll, it's like, okay, well, all right, what do we do here? You know what I mean? It's I enjoyed it because personally, like, I was looking at it from an athletic point of view. But that's where, if you're trying to do jiu-jitsu and you want to do it as a hobby and you're slowly trying to get better, and you are a strength athlete, number one, when you go in, don't be super crazy aggressive Cobra Kai fucker. Don't do that. Don't be that motherfucker.
What's it, Eagle Fang?
Don't be that dude. Be someone who's good to roll with. But also choose your training partners wisely, because if you choose the person, number one, you have to communicate with them, say, hey, I'm trying to learn here. Let's kind of flow a little bit. But if this is a person where you've told them that multiple times and they still come at you like it's Cobra Kai, just don't roll with that fucker. Don't.
Yeah,
they'll get you injured.
all pro, all mat team, like open mat team, or they only go pro and open mats.
Yeah.
Is it cool to be like super chill, or is that too much? Like can you just be like, could I go in and be like, hey man, like I'm new, I want to really learn this slowly, and I'm there for 6 months. And you guys are like, come on, bro. Like, you should kind of move a little faster now. But what if I still want to move slow? Is that okay or not really?
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. But that's where the school environment is important, right? There are some schools where it's like,
you can literally take your time. You can go at your own pace. No one's going to sweat it. You might be like, oh, I want a stronger roll, so I'm going to roll with somebody else. Because that guy, he's kind of taking his time, so you can pick and choose.
And that's where rolling with upper belts, purple, brown, and black belts is really good, because they're not going to really, if you're a white belt, upper belts are not going to try to like fuck you up unless you're like really looking to make progress and they're doing things to teach you, right? But if you're like, I do want to kind of take this slow, they'll be slower. They'll still tap you a bunch of times, but they'll do it really slowly. And they'll typically do that either way. The ones that you got to be careful with are the new fresh blue belts that see that nice strong white belt that came into the gym a few weeks ago, and they want to see, what the fuck can I do? They kind of want to get revenge because have all this pent up rage where they're like, I was you and I was getting fucked up.
I was mistreated.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah. But no, seriously, you can do that. You can progress slowly.
That's good for new people to know. You can take your time.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, Nsima, because it can be very frustrating in the beginning. You don't know what the fuck you're doing, and literally everybody is going to tap you or tire you out or just demoralize you.
Yeah.
So something I've been doing, and if you can think of any other tips for newbies like myself, is like if I'm rolling with somebody that's like that's been destroying me, if I can just get a good hip escape and then kind of get my frames on them, I'll think about that later on in the day. Be like, dude, that was a fucking huge win. Yes, he tapped me the rest of he was in control for 99% of the 6-minute roll. I'm like, but I did get that one. And so like, I'll hold my head on that one thing. And then I also just, in talking to you, and I understand like, well, fuck, if this was hard for Nsima in the beginning, like I'm going to take it nice and slow and not get frustrated and let everything take as long as it's necessary. Right.
Yeah.
Because I would hate for somebody to try it out and then get frustrated and be like, this is fucking stupid. Like I'm never going to get the hang of it. But like, I'll think about that, or I'll think about like when I am rolling with another white belt and like, oh, I got a mount on them and they couldn't couldn't get off me. Like, I don't know scoring and all that stuff, but like, I understand, like, I was not in a vulnerable position, and if I had maybe just like an ounce of a little bit more skill, that maybe I could have done something to them, you know, like, so just being able to like hang on and not let somebody roll me off of them or reverse something, I'll be like, dude, that was a fucking huge win. Because in my head, it's kind of going back to, I know it's kind of silly, but like, if this was a situation that I was like, we'll say a street fight or whatever, but it's like, I've never been able to control another man like that. You know, like I've never been able to like hold someone down and be like, wow, there's literally nothing you can do to me right now because I'm on top of you. And like, I have your wrists and like, you're not strong enough to like buck me off. And because I'm like kind of locked in anyways. So I think about stuff like that and I'm like, dude, that was a huge win. Like I'm fucking, even if I didn't tap him or whatever, you know, I'll think back and be like, I think for that 6 minutes, I was in control for 4 of them. Like, I think I just won.
What were some of the initial wins that you started getting with running? Like things that on a daily basis that you're like, ooh, this is good. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just what you quickly notice is just that you can run faster and you can breathe better. You notice the breathing probably is almost, well, I'd go back even further. For me, it was legs first and then breathing and then faster. So my legs not being like, not burning was the first thing that I actually noticed dissipating. And then, then the breathing got a little bit better. I'm like, wow, I'm not. And the breathing, you know, it would be like telling someone in jiu-jitsu to like really be like to try to have a lot of awareness of what they're doing when they come in. You just can't.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of ways for you to be better than you were than what you just showed in that video. No matter what someone told you beforehand, no matter what exercise you did, like maybe you could be like a little better, but the effort wouldn't even really be worth it.
Yeah.
You got to just actually do it. So for me with the breathing probably could have been better if I would have like been more conscious of it and locked into it. But even though I was kind of locked into it and I was kind of conscious of it because of all the stuff we talk about on this show, I couldn't really do anything about it because I didn't have any experience. I didn't have experience trying to breathe well while running. So I had to actually go through it in order to like really feel it and then go, oh, that's what some of those guys are talking about. Like, oh, breathe slower. But I couldn't breathe slower at first because I couldn't fucking breathe.
Yeah.
I was too fat.
Yeah, you were getting tired, so you couldn't even fucking catch your breath well.
And then after a while, I was like, oh no, it could be more like this. And I can breathe every couple steps rather than like being like hyperventilating.
Absolutely, having a cadence. And I wanted to ask you that because like you've been running for kind of like years now. Like you've been doing run walks, but you're at that point right now where it's only been the past few months where you really started to skyrocket that mileage, where now you're doing 13, 14 mile runs. So you're still like, and when I pay attention to running, I pay attention to those little things. Oh, wow, I'm not in my traps anymore. I'm able to relax my shoulders. I'm able to
give
breathe.
You a quick example. DJ Webb, our boy. By the way, DJ Webb, sometime last year, deadlifted 600. He's on day 310 of Run Every Day. He's been fucking crushing it. I think he told me, I don't want to get this wrong, but I think he told me he's like in a 6-ish mile range for doing like multiple miles. So he can fucking fly.
Yeah.
But he was telling me today he thinks he can do about 8:30, like 8-minute, 30-second miles while being in zone 2 cardio. So for him, it would be like his heart rate would only be at like 130, 140 while he's going that fucking fast.
Jeez. I think DJ...
And you know, he does have a military background. He is in our military, but he is somebody that's been, you know, he's been actively working on all these things and he's in great shape. He's getting stronger simultaneously while building up that conditioning.
415 squat, 315 bench, and this is still all while he's like running all the fucking time.
He's at Matt Winning's gym too.
Yeah. So that's the thing. To answer your question, Andrew, the first thing that you're going to be getting the hang of, anybody gets the hang of in jiu-jitsu, is like learning how to escape. Everyone's like, oh, when am I going to tap somebody? Somebody might let you tap them. You know what I mean? Like upper belts will let you work certain positions and tap them. And you might be able to tap some lower belts initially, but at the end of the day, it's like you're just going to be escaping. You will learn how to escape back, the mount, all these positions because people will be getting there so often on you. And that should be your main focus, learning how to escape. But along with that, one thing that is really hurtful for some people is the ego blow. It's really, if you're someone who's always been used to being good at something and winning, when you go to a place where every single person you roll with is now making you tap, and you're not having to be like, I lose, I lose, day in and day out. Some people don't last just because they're not okay with tapping. Some people get themselves injured because they don't tap early and they don't tap often. So you're gonna have the guy where you're doing an arm bar, but this white belt for some reason is just trying to fucking, and then they tear their bicep tendon because they didn't tap, because they were trying to go like that, right? That shit happens because they don't tap. That's why Cassio mentioned to you, just don't fight back. Like, yeah, fight back, try to escape, but when you get in those positions where you need to tap, don't be the fucker that doesn't tap and gets himself hurt. Tap, right? So I think the ego thing is huge. And the thing I always tell new white belts whenever like after a roll is just stick with it. Because for me personally, jiu-jitsu made no sense when I started. I would go into a class, I'd think I understood something, I'd go to the next class and I didn't remember what was taught. And that happened every single week. I also didn't have like a wrestling or grappling background. So if you're a former wrestler, some things click a little bit easier. But for me, I was not a grappler. So being on the ground rolling with somebody made no fucking sense for a good year, probably a little bit more than a year. And then things slowly started clicking. As I started to do more repetitions and training more, things started to click. And then it was like, oh, wow, I can see that position. That makes sense. Wow, this is great. But things won't make sense for a while, but you have to continue sticking with it. I think that's one of the big reasons why a lot of people quit jiu-jitsu. They expect it to be like boxing. We've talked about it. Striking is intuitive. Grappling isn't.
Don't get mad at us, strikers.
I'm not saying it's easy either.
No, it's not easy. I think it takes, I've always said it takes about 10 years to get really good at something, like to be really good at something, to start to get towards your highest level. But it only takes about 10 months to get good enough at something to where you can feel good about it. And that's not really that long. And you can even argue like, hey, maybe even after like 10 weeks, you might be over like that initial hump, 10 to 12 weeks, right? We can agree like about 3 months. You get over the 3 months and you're not as sore. The shit's just not as bad. Like it's not as horrible, right?
Yeah,
like it's just, you're not as shitty at it. But jiu-jitsu, the way that you guys describe it and the way I've heard other people describe it, kind of reminds me of like, if you're going to shoot some hoops and like you walked away for the day with no baskets, like you didn't make even one shot.
Dude.
Even like a little kid can make a basket. Like they can do a granny shot. A 6-year-old can figure out a way to throw the ball up to like a 10-foot rim and at least get one of them in there, But it reminds me of like you leave and hey man, how did it go today? Well, I didn't make any shots. Well, today must have been a lot better. How was that? And like, no. And like 2 weeks later, hey, you make any shots? Like, kind of made one. It like rolled off the back of the rim and finally went in. You're like, hey, there you go. And you finally made, fucking take it.
And then other days, it's like I didn't even hit the rim.
Seems like the percentage is really low of being able to figure it out. Maybe it's more akin to like baseball. Like if you have you hit the ball 30% of the time, you're in the fucking Hall of Fame in baseball.
Yeah, but it's batting practice with the ball being underhand thrown, and it's the size of a beach ball, and you can't fucking even
and you
get
do
close.
that like Bugs Bunny swing where you miss it 3 times in the same time, in the same pitch.
Yeah, strike 3, you're out all in one.
See if you can pull up Dustin Poirier versus Brian Shaw.
What?
Dustin tapped the fuck out of Brian or something.
Remember you were talking about like, you were like, I don't know about Brian. You're like, it's crazy with Brian Shaw. Like, I don't know what the hell would happen with somebody that large.
I wonder when this happened.
I mean, they were
fucking around.
They were, I mean, it wasn't like, they weren't. It's legit though.
Wow. It's like, what?
Brian is still, I mean, I know he's still
so
doing World's
huge.
Strongest Man and stuff, and he's still like highly competitive, but I just can't believe the shape that he's in. So Dustin told him, hey, go ahead and try to get up. And so
Took his back. Yeah.
He's like, I'm just gonna run away.
And I don't know, like, again, they're like, it's just a training video or whatever. I don't know, like, could Shaw have like gone back on him or something? Yeah. A lot of times
that would be the move.
Yeah.
A lot of times you see that and the guy does get choked out, but Brian is so big and weighs so much. I don't really No, but the fact that you can do anything to somebody that large is pretty crazy and impressive.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool I mean, that's something you learn how to do. You kind of learn how to ride somebody's weight, and he just rode him, took his back,
and nice agility by Brian to get up.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and I know Dustin's like probably allowing him to get up. Like he's
he's waiting for take his back.
Yeah.
Because he did, like, right, like what is the actual move in Nsima? It's kind of like the opposite, right? Like you should be looking towards him and pushing away instead of like, I'm just gonna get up, right? Like
you're talking about who, Brian?
Shaw. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He tried
he just
it's
I'm just gonna
funny.
muscle
He could have like ran into the parking lot with him.
That's so good.
And people do that shit in tournaments too. Like people get up and then they have someone riding them like a backpack to choke them out. So that's the thing. You know what's funny though? Jiu-jitsu is like kind of opposite to the newbie gains that happen when you lift. Like if you're a lifter and you were used to like, oh yeah, stronger this week. Fuck, see a new vein. Yeah. Oh,
very little stimulus needed.
Oh yeah, low volume gains. Jiu-jitsu is the exact opposite at the beginning because every week it's like a fire hose. You're getting this fire hose and you're just getting drowned. Every single week, you're literally getting drowned.
A lot of
doesn't make
setbacks.
sense.
A lot of setbacks too, right?
Andrew can feel like every week, like you have a new tweak or this thing. It's like it that's why it's hard for people to stick with.
Not like, to get into your brain, but there'll probably be like 2 months from now, you'll probably be like pretty smooth, probably pretty good. And then you'll just probably all over again be like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna fucking get this shit. Probably happens that way, right?
That happened to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that happens to a lot of golfers, and they get. That's why there's like a movie like Happy Gilmore where he's cussing on the court on the field because he's like yelling and shit and going crazy. Because I think you feel like you got the swing of things and you're like getting to a rhythm with it. And then all of a sudden you just recognize every golf game that you ever play is completely different.
I got to add this in. But then also when you feel that you get into the swing of things, your training partners can see, he leveled up a little bit. Now I can level up against what I do against him. And then your training partners pour all this new shit on you and you're like, what the fuck? I'm back to square one.
And you have a bunch of mutants in there too, like Josh Settlage that's like studying that shit day and night. And like, that's your competition. You're like, fuck.
Yeah. That's why I'm so grateful for the two guys that I learned from the most, Chris Shaw and Chris Robertson. Cause like they're really good at like, they're going to be right here and I'm going to try to, go here. And like, if I jump up a little bit, they're like, okay, cool. And they'll just go just enough to be like, hey, like, good job, but like, go ahead and calm down. Like, it's so funny. But my buddy Chris Robertson was saying, he's like, and we've heard this so much, and this is why I feel like, I'm not gonna say like everything I'm doing is prepping me to start jiu-jitsu, but like, it's just a really good time for me because he's like, the more you start to find out, the more you realize you don't know a damn thing. And I'm like, boy, have I heard that so many times before. And that's exactly what it is, Mark. Like if I, in 2 months from now, like, oh, I think if I do this, and because the whole thing is just a big, if this, then that fucking game, it's like, people talk about like, oh, it's kind of like chess, and no disrespect to high level chess players, but like to me, it feels like it's chess, but like 4D chess, against like, a bunch of different people all at the same time. But all the fucking the pieces of the game board do something different than what you're expecting, so it's like, oh wait, that's only supposed to move one spot forward, and next thing you know, it's like, across the whole thing. But yeah, and so like I know that once I do level up a little bit, it's just gonna open up another can of worms where I'm like, you didn't do that last month, why are you messing with me now? So it's cool that we've heard this before, right? The more you know, the more you realize you don't know shit, and jiu-jitsu is definitely that.
Are you trying some of these moves out on the lady at home?
No.
I can picture Andrew being like, "Hey, let me show you," and Steph's like, "Fuck."
She did catch me trying to learn like just basic like set up frame. So like I'm shrimping out like on the floor and then like setting up a frame, and she's just
you're like kicking Jasmine's ass. Like, what are you doing?
So I showed Jasmine like, hey, come choke me, and because I was like, do you know how to like take someone's back? She's like, yeah, and so she like tries to choke me, and I'm like, oh, I can still breathe. I'm like, here, do it this way. So I showed her how to like set up a legit choke. And I'm like, yep. And I was like, I would have passed out if you didn't let me go. And so like that was just fun, to be like, I'm excited about this. Let me show you how to choke somebody.
You used to eating that booty yet?
So
in jiu-jitsu.
There was one of the guys at Waza would just like, he's really strong, and you look at him and you're like, okay, he looks like a wrestler, right? But the way he changes direction, I was just like getting ready to like, shrimp out or whatever. And it's like, oh, fuck, he's already sitting on my head. Like, what the fuck? And so for new people, like, especially for myself, I did not like that claustrophobic feeling. Like you're trying to take in a deep breath and it's like, oh, like it's this dude's like ball ass area. And it's like really close, so you're like trying to catch clean air, but it's like not there. And I'm like, fuck, like this sucks. So I'm actually grateful for that guy now because like I've learned how to like, I don't want to get stuck in that. So like I'm turning and shrimping out as hard and quick as possible.
Good incentive to get better.
Yes, very much so. So yeah.
It was funny when Jason came on the podcast and he was talking about how he did privates because the body to body thing, and that's an interesting thing. You do have to get used to that. I mean, I wasn't used to that in the beginning, but it's something you got to get used to. There are certain positions where a guy's butt's going to be in your face. Literally, his ass will be on your face, and you'll have your arm. And you got to learn how to escape that position. But you also need to be comfortable just
get
being
some like
there.
dick pressure here and there too. You're like, what's that?
Yeah, well, if you're trying to go,
what was that?
If you're on with Andrew here, like you fucking feel that thing slap against your face. You're like, dog, the fuck was that?
You're like, that can't be what never mind.
No way.
I thought you meant the other way because like I went for like a lame ass arm bar and I'm like, he knew it was coming. Like I telegraph everything, right? Because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So just a slight bend of the elbow as I try to go
because
in.
your dick pressure's on my elbow. Like what the fuck?
It hurt me really bad. I'm like,
what you trying to do to me?
Like I'm trying to impregnate your elbow, son.
That reminds me of that scene where the guy kissed the other guy and the guy knocked him out and said, "I ain't gay." Remember that? Like in it was like a UFC type of thing or whatever.
What? I don't remember.
It was
that sounds awesome.
It was a famous fighter, and the other guy, like they do like a stare down. Before. They went to do a stare down. The guy kissed him. The other guy just whacked him.
So good.
Oh my god! I'll try to think of the guy's name.
The only scene I can remember right now is Talladega Nights when they just like they get done with their race and they just start making out. It's a great movie. It's the worst movie, but it's a really, really good movie.
Oh my god, man. Oh, Mark, since you were mentioning the breathing. If you found it. Did you find it?
No, go ahead.
Okay. You're mentioning the breathing while running. And I mentioned this with jiu-jitsu too, but right after I read Patrick McEwen's book, Oxygen Advantage, and I started doing nasal breathing with jiu-jitsu, it initially it was hard to get used to breathing through my nose the whole time, but it changed how calm I was, how like, in these positions, a lot of people have the tendency, especially new guys, to when I push, I hold my breath. When I pull, I hold my breath. So they're breathing through their mouth, and then in certain instances, they're holding their breath when somebody has pressure on them or when they're doing something. But if you can learn how to breathe through your nose, our boy Josh Sutledge started doing it a few years ago, and it changed his game. It changed my game.
People
it
are
makes
resistant.
a big difference.
People are resistant to it too.
They are.
We've had guests on and we've asked them about it. And they're like, I don't think it's a big deal. I've noticed it being a huge deal in running. And you've noticed it be a huge deal when you're doing jiu-jitsu, right? And working out.
Absolutely. No, it makes a big difference. I don't do unless I have to, for example, if I'm speeding things up when I'm running or even when I'm sprinting sometimes, I'll open my mouth a bit here and there. But at this point, the nose, it's made a big difference for breathing. So if you early on in jiu-jitsu, if you can just make sure, just breathe in and out through the nose, no matter how hard things get, I'm just going to breathe through the nose. And then if you have to open your mouth when things speed up, go ahead. But try to keep the nose as the governor of everything. Dog, you will progress much faster than a lot of your training partners because of that.
I think if you were to lift that way, I think if you were to do stuff from the beginning that way, I think you would have a great career. I think you would avoid injury. I think you would avoid overtraining. Maybe not completely. Maybe you'd still be able to, because maybe at a certain point you get used to breathing in and out of your nose, and maybe at some point you can still go pretty hard. But it would be, you're working on being on the finger. But I got a great idea. I think we should do a podcast with the hostage tape on, all three of us.
Yeah.
That'd be the best podcast of the year. Best podcast of the year.
That's actually how I wanted to do one of the ads, is just everybody wears them.
No more hostage tape?
This stuff is sticky, man. It goes on pretty good.
No, I honestly, guys, we do have a code with hostage tape, but also what I was using was 3M micropore tape from Amazon. I think there's a picture where I have 3 strips because like it usually falls off with just one. I only need to use 1 strip of hostage tape and I have facial hair.
Yeah.
It's like, Thank you, Jesus.
And I've been running with it, and you can you can just breathe in and out of your nose. You don't have to look like a psychopath with tape on your mouth, but
you can.
But the tape on the mouth just ensures you're not going to cheat. I find myself getting distracted, and next thing I know, I'm not nasal breathing, so I'm like, I'm just going to fucking throw the tape on.
Yeah. Power Project family, how's it going? Now, a lot of you guys are lifters, athletes. You're serious about the gym, and we are too. And that's why we've been using Slingshot products for years, all right? You have the original Slingshot, obviously the glittery pink hip circle, which is my personal favorite. But if you don't like that, then you have the normal hip circle that's used to warm up the hips. But on the website, they have tons of equipment, knee sleeves, elbow sleeves, the gangster wraps right there. So you need to go check them out. And Andrew, can you tell them more about it?
Yes, that's over at markbellslingshot.com. And at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes. I would say during the, it's not necessarily a lull, but when you're in a position and you're thinking about the next move you're going to make, whether he's on top or you're on top or whatever it may be.
Oh, yeah, I know.
In jiu-jitsu.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Let me also real quick. I want to say this. So many people, because of all the gay jokes I make, so many people in the audience are like, "Of course, Nsima's fucking gay." It's just, I think it's funny. Continue on.
But I don't think the jokes are gay. I think it's just that people have their interpretation.
It's their interpretation.
They want to take it there.
Yeah, exactly. Who is the gay one? Is it me? Is it you? We don't know.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about it.
It's like when my brother was sending me all these gay bodybuilding things. He's like, "Look how gay all this," and I'm like, "You spent 15 hours on the internet looking all this shit up. What is going on? What's going on in your day? What happened?"
You have to retell the story about when you guys were at a UFC event and Halle Berry was right across.
Oh my God. So we went last minute to watch Bones Jones fight, which was great. To watch Bones Jones, that's like getting an opportunity to see fucking Michael Jordan back in the day. Bones Jones is one of the greatest of all time. So my brother and I got tickets. We were really excited. We're getting to our seats and we're just kind of sitting there, and I look across the way and I see somebody that looks very familiar. And I'm like, oh my God, wow. My brother sees someone that looks familiar too. And at the same time, I look at him and I go, oh, and I go there. And he says, Mankind, like a professional wrestler. Mick Foley, Mankind. And I say, Halle Berry. He noticed this fat fucking wrestler, Mick Foley, who's famous for getting thrown off the top of the cage by Undertaker. And I noticed Halle Berry because they were actually talking to each other. What an interesting pairing. But Halle Berry's arguably the most beautiful woman ever walked on the face of the earth.
So hot.
I was like, there's Halle Berry, and he's like, Mick Foley, and I was like, oh my God,
oh man. You can
bring up some pictures here.
Halle, okay. Oh shit.
Halle Berry's unbelievable. She seems not only really hot, really attractive, but super cute too, right? That's the, I don't know, that always gets me.
I was a disgusting teenager. Halle Berry's scene in Monsters Ball.
That was, yeah.
I've used that scene many a time as a teen.
Hey,
you remember? You know the scene?
Yeah.
Everyone knows the scene.
Yeah. Halle Berry's incredible.
I feel so bad because she's so amazing. Oh, God, Halle Berry.
Damn.
Yeah. She's in her 50s and she still. God damn.
You need to do a whole show about Halle Berry.
Yeah, dude.
All right, now bring up Mankind.
Is it Mick Foley?
Yeah, Mick Foley, yeah.
Mankind.
I gotta go relive that scene.
You gotta ask my brother about it. Yeah, there he is with the mask on. It's perfect. Yeah, and he was pretty much dressed like that too. Oh my God. See if you can find a clip of him getting chucked off the top of the cage, because that is legendary.
That is such a funny You too. That's just fucking great.
It was like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about?
Halle Berry, if you'd love to come on the podcast, we'd love to have you. Please.
Yeah, where is she?
Please.
I think she does some keto stuff, doesn't she?
I think she does
holy shit.
Stuff. Oh my God.
I gotta rewind it.
What the fuck did he land on?
See if we can play the audio. The announcers are great. He lands on a table. He goes right through a table.
Oh, Jesus.
He was more almost like a stunt man. Oh, here he goes.
Good God Almighty.
They killed him. That is so good.
This guy
is so
Dude.
good. Cactus Jack, what a legend.
He was incredible.
Oh my God.
I don't remember what we were talking about.
Andrew, are you able to lift? Do you even lift, bro?
Dude, after the first week, I was like, no, I don't want to, get too far removed from lifting. I'm going to keep doing it. But that's when I started turning different colors, so I'm like, okay. And I was a zombie, and I always talk about.
Yeah, Andrew was looking like flat out just ill. Like when your friend
looked jaundiced, right?
Yeah, your friend just looks different and you're like, hey, like I got to say something, I was like, man, are you okay? He's like, I don't know.
I aged 20 years in 1 week. But something that I will try to remind a lot of guys in the gym, it's like, your family doesn't care how sick your lift was. You're talking about I'm doing all this shit
especially
for myself.
Especially your son.
Right. Exactly.
He don't give a shit.
Couldn't have said it any better than that. Right. So I was doing jiu-jitsu and then I would go lift and then I'd come home and I would have negative energy, right? Well, not negative energy, but my energy level was it wasn't even at zero. I was dead, I was not present. My son wants to play, of course, and I'm just like, fuck, here we go, and then I started feeling my throat get scratchy. I started feeling sick. So I was like, dude, I need to dial this way back, at least for a little bit, because this is just too much.
Yeah.
So since then, I haven't actually lifted anything. I've done a couple things in the gym, but right now I'm still just doing jiu-jitsu at least 3 times a week, sometimes 4, but no actual lifting in the gym as of right now.
Yeah. That
will change. I guarantee that'll change because there's a lot of things I want to work on that I'm recognizing now on the mats. I need to figure out what's going on with my adductor, right? I need to get that stronger. So some of the stuff you and I were talking about and that you're helping me with, stuff like that. I cannot ignore that. It's not going to get better by just keeping dudes in my guard. I want to get stronger than just, attacking the weakness on the mat. I want to attack it off of the mat so that way it's better on the mat.
Yeah. With what you're saying right now, there's a question I still get, and it's something that's, I think, the most popular question from strength athletes when it comes to starting jiu-jitsu is how do you structure your lifting in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Or how do you make sure you can maintain your strength in the gym while doing jiu-jitsu? And to be perfectly honest, it's jiu-jitsu, again, everything we've talked about, so many new ranges of motion. Your body's being put in all these different positions, meaning you're going to be getting sore in all these smaller muscles that you're not typically using in the gym. Your lifts will go down a little bit, but it's not a permanent thing. Your lifts will go down for probably a few months. The main lifts that you love, like your deadlift, your squat, your bench, even maybe some of your accessory movements. But as you get used and as your body gets used to the stressors of jiu-jitsu, and as all those muscles get stronger and they're able to have more endurance and they're able to recover faster because they're being used, your lifts will start to slowly come back. And then over time, you'll probably be able to become even stronger. I mean, just look at Jimmy House, right? Jimmy House is super strong now, but he's 6 years into jiu-jitsu with his lifting. He probably had the same experience. With me, same thing happened. My lifts went down, but I knew that, okay, it's a new stimulus. My body has to get used to it.
And what does your lifts going down even mean? Let's say that you go to the gym and you go to deadlift and 275 is now shaky on a deadlift and you're like, wow. But meanwhile, you were just at jiu-jitsu yesterday, wrecking people, picking people up and having no problem. So you have to kind of think about what's the training for? Do you feel like you're less conditioned? Do you feel like you're in worse shape? Do you feel like you're in better shape? Do you feel like you're in the same shape? Do you feel like 6 weeks from now that you'll be able to do a lot of the things that you used to love to do? It's just a matter of kind of riding it out. I think people just need to kind of think about it a little bit more and weigh out their options of what it is you're really trying to do. Somebody like Andrew starting up, I haven't noticed a negative change in his body. I've noticed more of a positive change. We were talking about his walk. Seems like you're moving around, you're less stiff from the week 1 or whatever.
And seriously, we were talking about that last week because I was seeing you walk to the bathroom. He seems looser in his walk. And you do.
Yeah, just in your movement pattern in general. So it's like, I think in fitness, it's hard to not just think about like what's going on like right now and the direct result that we get from something for 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. It's more like we want to think about stuff more in terms of years. Like how long is it going to take to be halfway decent at jiu-jitsu? It's going to take a couple years to be good at it. You know, when you start anything new, the greatest thing you can do is just have really low expectations. So if we all went and shot some baskets and played some basketball, we would have a fucking blast because the expectations would be really low. Now, if we were like, you know, hey, like let's meet today, we're going to shoot some hoops, and then next week we're going to play a game.
2v2. It would start
to suck after a while because then our expectations would raise, and then we would be like, dude, I rolled my ankle, like I'm all fucked up. Right. So when expectations are low is when you're going to find, and your expectations for what you're doing right now should keep them low. You know, maybe you have like standards, like I don't fucking give up. Like that's a standard that you can kind of say, I'm not going to be a pussy, like whatever that means to you, or however you word, whatever terminology you need to be like super positive during the sessions. Or I'm going to go in and I'm not the best guy here, but I'm going to learn more than everybody here. Like, could you figure that out? Or could you figure out your own version of that? I think you can.
Yeah. It goes back to the ego thing when it comes to like, you know, the jiu-jitsu side of things, like the ego, like I'm going to tap or I'm not going to tap because my ego's not going to let me. When it comes to the lifting side, I already got rid of that because it did consume me prior, you know, to learning how to just like chill out and work out correctly. So like as is right now, when I lift, I don't pay attention to how much weight I'm actually lifting. I'm getting the stimulus and I'm doing my reps and sets. So when you say like the numbers might go down or whatever, I don't give a fuck, because now, which is again something else you've been preaching, I am training for something other than physique looks.
The three of us don't even necessarily use an actual barbell that often. In my observation, like we're using a cable column a lot. Who really cares if it has 70 or 40 on there? Like
exactly.
You don't care.
I don't care. Stimulus.
Yeah.
That's what I pay attention to.
Kettlebell wise, like you might move around a kettlebell and be like, I could use more, right? And use a little bit more weight, but it's like a 53-pound kettlebell. Like it's not. So we're not really trying at the moment to really lift 400, 500, 600 pounds. I'm still messing around sometimes on a bench press.
Good though.
But could. But the capacity, again, it's nice to have the capacity to be there. And I think that you're still getting in enough volume to where 6 plates on a deadlift wouldn't be hard. 4 plates in a squat wouldn't be hard.
No.
Right. And I think, but also too, it's like you don't really care that much about that. But if you went to pick up 500, you might say, that doesn't really make any sense for me. Like I've been lifting 6 plates for a really long time, and I don't know what happened to where that occurred. And you would probably kind of notice that in other places before you ever even noticed it show up in the barbell movement.
Yeah, that's the thing though. It's like, remember that when you had me get ready for CT Fletcher, you told me like a week or 2 weeks in advance, like I want you to pull something heavy. And I wasn't really pulling much before that, but pulled 685, tweaked a little something in my back, but it wasn't anything major, but it was fast. Right? Even though I never touched anything over 5 for months before that. The thing is if you keep some type of, Andrew kind of hit it on the head. He was like, I'm looking for stimulus. If you've gained a certain amount of muscle, what lifting and jiu-jitsu will do for you is when you go into the gym now, you're going to be like, okay, I have these movements to do, but you're not married to the amount of weight you do it for. You're looking for the stimulus on the muscle and maybe stimulus on how hard it feels. But let's say you still love to deadlift, but let's say before 500 felt hard and now 405 or 450 feels the same as 500 and you're fresh into jiu-jitsu. That's okay. Stick with 405 or 450. Stay there for a while because over time, body gets better with jiu-jitsu. Your strength will start to creep right back up. But we don't need to pay attention to that kind of stuff anymore. I think with our training, it's all about getting adequate stimulus to each of the muscles we're trying to work. And if we can do that, we're going to make progress.
That's usually kind of the dialogue I have going on in my head. I'm like, I think I got the stimulus I need. I'm good. I'll do 2 sets. Whereas before I'd be like, no, I need 6 sets. I need 8 sets. I need 4 exercises. I used to think I need to do these things this way. It has to be done this way. And now I kind of recognize like, no, let me just, if I send a signal and you know what? It can be a passive signal because we work out so often. Our frequency is really high. Mm-hmm. So if I just send a signal, this is going to be good enough for today. And if I underdid it, I can come back tomorrow and I can try a little harder.
We're doing calf raises at the fucking desk. Remember that study?
Yeah, the Huberman. Yeah. The thing Huberman brought up.
Yeah. What I was going
to calf push up or whatever. No, soleus push up.
I have to check that out.
Was not a study done by Huberman. It's a study that he
referenced.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. And then with jiu-jitsu, and you don't even have to quote unquote go all in on it, but like in that realm, a 700 deadlift will definitely help you for damn sure. But like still, like what you were mentioning in the beginning with that, he was like 160 something pounds.
He was probably 155.
155 black belt was just murdering you.
Absolutely murdering.
So in this, so on the physique side of things, somebody would look at me and be like, okay, he's in shape, but like I'm not going to strive to be that. In strength sports, nobody's going to look at the numbers that I can do and be like, that motherfucker's strong. They might be like, well, it's cool. He can lift a little bit of weight. Like, that's awesome. But in jiu-jitsu, like, I've never received this many compliments about people saying that, like, oh, you're really strong, or you move really well, or you look like you're in good shape. Like Casio, like, he doesn't have to do anything extra other than jiu-jitsu because he's already in great shape.
He's jacked.
And I'm like, what? Like, I've never heard that. So what I'm saying is, like, even though I do still want to get in better shape, because thank you. And my focus is on jiu-jitsu now. So like I would have never believed that I would go into the gym and focus on adductors. Like that's just something I've never fucking thought I would ever do. But what I'm getting at is like training for that stimulus, whether, you know, you said the 500 down to 405, like that's going to still carry you very, very far in jiu-jitsu, right? Like you don't have to break world records on the platform to be good at jiu-jitsu.
I think what could hurt you though is to be too connected to the 100% or too connected to the 110%, 105%, being so connected to like your best, because you know, they always say comparison is the thief of joy, but even if it's comparing yourself to yourself, you're comparing yourself to yourself with different conditions. You know, so for me to try to compare myself to myself when I was powerlifting is just absurd. Like that was my thing. Like I will probably, I don't know. I most likely will never run into something that I love that much that I do for myself, where I spend that much time. It was a very special time. It's probably what you're going through with jiu-jitsu. It's like hard to put into words, you know, without crying and getting all swelled up. It was an amazing time period. And for me to try to compare myself to that time period, it's a big mistake. I was really locked in. I took a ton of drugs. I weighed whatever I need to weigh. I did whatever I had to do. The whole gym, my whole life, my whole day was set up. All my friends were set up to. Everything was around being as strong as possible. Let me bring in the other strongest people in the world so I can be motivated, inspired, and learn from them. Let me go to the best coaches. Let me read the best books. Let me, let's get Matt Wenning in here. Let's go train at Westside Barbell with Louis Simmons. Let's learn from Dave Tate. Let's go visit Jesse Burdick. Let's, just everything was just smashed in on all that. So now if I go to lift, okay, it's cool to like throw up a decent lift. And that's cool. If I do 3-4 plates, something like that, that's great. That makes me feel good. I'm like, okay, well that's respectable. Those are weights I've handled before for a lot more repetitions and stuff. But this is something that is kind of baked into me. I enjoy this, so I'm still going to pursue it and still going to do it. But I'm also not foolishly going to try to lock myself into even worrying about being within 90% of those numbers, because those numbers were done by almost a completely different person.
Yeah. And that's one of the cool things. You now have so many different capacities. You can go out and run and get enjoyment from that. You can throw around a kettlebell and get enjoyment from that. You can go into the gym, and not only do you have access to the barbell, now you have access to all these other implements that you've learned how to get some stimulus to different muscle tissues, and you can get enjoyment from there. You have so many options for your fitness that it's like, well, you can't lose anywhere. There's going to be some people who think Mark doesn't bench 500 anymore, but do you need to? Like, what's that going to give you right now?
Already did 800 and
54.
Fuck. Okay, I was gonna say 53. I was close. Not bad.
You're right there.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. And I mean, that's the same thing here, you know, like I am in the best shape I have ever been in, ever, you know, and I'm more flexible than I've ever been. I move better than I ever have. I just feel fucking amazing, but it's because all the different capacities that we've been able to build and all the things we've been able to learn are all adding up. Now I have multiple options.
I do have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say feeling is like a hard thing to like register, you know, or to understand. But do you think you feel better than you've ever felt before? Like, and maybe that's, you know, career wise, relationship wise, lifting wise, jiu-jitsu wise.
Yeah,
like,
man. There's a bias though, because just like LG, man, life's good. You know, like everything's going well here. Everything's going well at home. I'm at peace. Like I can't say I don't.
Our life
don't
is
feel
kind of
good.
dumb. Yeah, we just come here and we fucking rap on here and we eat a bunch of fucking Piedmontese beef and then we tape our mouths shut and just keep fucking repeating.
Yeah, it's like, how do you have a podcast if you just tape your mouth shut?
Yeah,
It doesn't
I know.
make any sense.
Guys, check out Hostage Tape. Real talk.
Yeah.
What were you about to say though, homie?
Talking to our boy Casey,
Oh yeah.
because he saw me kind of like limping in one morning, because like it's morning, it's cold, and I just got out of my car, which is like now kind of like a task some mornings, because you know, going at 5:30 and then you get here after jiu-jitsu, and so I'm like, you know, I'm trying to get out, and he's just like, I'm moving a little slow, huh? And I was just like, yeah, and then he looks at my feet and he's just like confused a little
Looks
bit.
like they have fucking a disease.
Yeah,
dog.
it's right, dude. The way it looked, it was like
It's disgusting.
Owen was like, "Oh God, is that what did he say? Athlete's foot?" And I'm like, "No,
That's
dick. Like it's
great.
not even close." But it looked terrible. Anyway,
Andrew had some jujitsu mat burns that fucked his feet up for a little bit.
I think
really
Casey's
bad.
sizing you up because he's in the fight club as well. So he's
Right.
like, what's going on with Andrew? Now I got to worry about him
Oh,
too.
man.
Fuck.
Trust me, he has nothing to worry about. That is a fucking man that knows how to throw a solid punch, and then
Knows how to shoot a gun.
he can
Yeah, bow and arrow,
bow and
knife,
arrow,
all of it.
He can.
Casey's the man.
He is the
Here.
manliest man I've ever met. Like I get so much good advice from him. He's the shit.
Oh yeah.
But I was telling him about jiu-jitsu and like I'm loving it, but and then telling him like he knows he would love it too. But one question that he had that I had that I'm sure a lot of people have is like when they talk to people that have been in jiu-jitsu for a long time, it seems like everyone kind of has like this like badge of honor or whatever it may be, where they talk about their injuries. Like so they kind of always have a little something, like hearing like Joe Rogan and Eddie Bravo talk about like whether it be neck stuff or whatever. It just seems like everybody accumulates some type of injury over time. But Nsima, you've been doing it for 6-7 years at this point, and you feel better than ever. Do you understand the trend that I'm bringing up here, where people like kind of just develop injuries over time? And like what advice or what like comments do you have on that for people that are looking into it with that in mind and them being concerned about that?
Developing injuries over time. That's an interesting thing. I should remember that you mentioned that. But you know, when people are trying to get strong, they pull things in their back. They pull hamstrings. They injure themselves all the time in the gym. With running, you know, like you've had a few things here and there that have like gotten you injured. Some people develop some pain in their feet. I pulled something in my back one day. Was having some weird foot problems as my feet were getting stronger with running. Injuries. But, you know, you rehab, you're good. Jiu-jitsu is the same deal. I think that people look at it differently because, yeah, it is a martial art. You are rolling and fighting against somebody, and that person is not a controllable part of the equation because you don't know what they're going to do. Might be a spazzy motherfucker that's just like, it's their ADCC weekend and they really want to fuck you up today.
With Joe Rogan and Eddie Bravo, you got to keep in mind they're from the old school too. So before there was a lot of great information out there. They had to kind of blindly figure it out. So there's probably a lot of like almost miles on both of those guys that they wish they could maybe have back because they just had to like figure shit out because there wasn't the advent of the internet.
They had to run through the wall, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is with jiu-jitsu, you're dealing with so many things. You probably had little things here and there, right? That could be called injuries. But I'm not going to say it's inevitable, but just like with every other thing we've done and we've gotten injuries, you're going to get some injuries here and there with jiu-jitsu. But there are things that you can quite literally avoid, you know? So like I mentioned with you, talk to your training partner. You can probably see the training partners who have some level of danger. There have people that have avoided rolling with me purely because of my size. So they think I'm going to injure them, even though I scale. Like I'm the safest person to roll with at this point because I can just, I know what I'm doing, right? But when you roll with some new white belt or some blue belt that doesn't know what they're doing and they're spazzy, you don't have to roll with them. That's one thing. It's like you can say no. I have said no to training partners because they're just a little bit too crazy. I know if they're going with me, they're going to do some wild shit and I can't control whether they get injured or not. I've rolled with people because they smell like shit and they didn't clean themselves and their gi was shit. So they asked me to roll. I'm like, dog, I can't. I'm telling you, got to wash your gi. I've been real because there was probably one day when I didn't smell great and someone told me and I was like, nice. Okay, that's never happening again. So you choose your training partners. And that's why when I was a white belt, I always chose I chose advanced people that were really going to kick my ass, but they kicked my ass in the best way possible. It's inevitable. And then over time, I also learned how to calm my movements down. If you're strong and you're explosive, sometimes you think that you need to be strong and explosive when you do jiu-jitsu. And although it's a benefit, there's also an element where you need to learn when to explode and you need to learn when to use your strength. As I calmed down and I started focusing more and more on technique, less and less injuries, you know? But I did have a meniscus injury that happened one day, but that stemmed from something I did in the gym. And then it was also impacted with something in jiu-jitsu. So I had part of my meniscus removed, but I barely feel that. I just think it's like, it's not a big deal if you have a few things in check. And I'm sorry that this is going on so long, but this is something to think about. If you're in an area and you go to a school and there was a place that we were talking about here that's like Cobra Kai here in Sacramento, don't roll with those types of people. I'm not going to say any names, but don't roll with people and don't roll at a school where it seems like the gym culture is we kick everybody's ass and you go home and you come back and you do it again. Nah, this is something you want to be able to do forever. So you want to be able to have good instruction. You got to make sure the instructor is good. When you go to the school, you want to make sure that there are quite a few upper belts, right, for you to roll with because upper belts know what they're doing. So if you go to a school and you see a lineup of white belts, run. That is injury central. And then communicate with your training partner. If you have a nagging knee injury, right, let your training partner know, hey, my left knee's kind of odd, so I'm going to let you know. Don't be afraid of communicating because it's when you don't communicate and someone does something on your injured shoulder that you didn't communicate to them about and you get injured that you cry home that I injured my shoulder in jiu-jitsu because of my training partner when you just had to tell them about it. So there's so many things you can do to make sure that you leave unscathed.
Remember I was talking about the expectations, you know, and just not having hardly any. I know it's really difficult for people. And so maybe rather than like doing that, maybe you do want to get your blue belt by this time or whatever the case is. I think those things are fine. It's nice to have goals and stuff. But I think the main commitment in trying anything new is to figure out a way to stick to just understanding this is new for you and you want to be able to participate in it for a really long time.
Yeah.
The new diet, the new this, the new that. It's not a new diet. Like this is you're 100 pounds overweight. This is your protocol that you're switching to. And you're going to ride this protocol out or something similar to this for a long time. So there's no reason for you to start on Monday with a crash course of, there's no reason for you to dive into jiu-jitsu saying, I'm doing it every day. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to lift. I'm going to spar. I'm going to and as if you're training for the Olympics out of nowhere. You have time, like take your time doing it. You're not going to learn, you can't really learn hardly anything in jiu-jitsu in one day, much less 2 days, 5 days, 10 days. Maybe when you're more proficient and you've been doing it for 2 years, then maybe you could say, yeah, I learned a lot in that day because now things make sense. But in the beginning, it's really difficult. And you were saying like you were having a hard time remembering from one class to another. And those are challenges that I've faced before in other sports. It's like, I don't want to have a limiting belief about it, but it is a little bit of a weakness of mine if I'm being real, where I got to do something, a lot of repetitions to get it. Once I get it, then I feel pretty good, but it's going to take me a lot of reps. I'm going to be like, Nsima just did that with his left and then his right. And then Nsima would be like, no, that was with my right and my left and it was this way. And then I would do it with my left and my right. And he would say, no, it's with the right and your left and it's this way. And I would do it the wrong way again. And eventually he'd be like, yeah, okay. That's halfway decent. You halfway got there.
That was me.
And then it would start to get ingrained.
Yeah.
But then the next time I go, I would forget it all over again. And I'd be like, wait, you got to slow down. Yeah. Not so, you got to go slower. Go slower, and then
That was a good jiu-jitsu chop. Yeah, you're talking about like forgetting stuff from one class to the next. I will have you show me something, or have Chris show me something, and I'll do it and be like, he's like, no, you did it wrong again. Like, fuck, okay, hold on. And then here's the other one that really, really gets me is whatever the drill is, whatever it is, I'll use my right side. And then it's like, oh, let me try going to the left side. And it is like...
It's calculus, baby.
It goes from like English to some super foreign language where like you just have no idea what the heck is going on. And I'm like, why can't I make the same connection that I did 2 seconds ago? Like all I have to do is just kind of nope. It is so difficult to try to reverse it somehow on the other side, even though it's the same thing and you're going the same pace, and it takes forever to get ingrained. It's very difficult.
I've sent you that pre-fight kiss if you can find it. It's like maybe like quarter of the way into that video.
I'll check it out. Nsima, while I'm looking for it, I wanted to ask, because we are talking about like kind of like an intro to jiu-jitsu and stuff. When it comes to like equipment, so I guess we can start with gis. Because I was using a loaner gi for a while, but I knew I really wanted to get my own. Because I wanted to commit to it. But like what I don't know, can you rattle off some brands that people can look towards to kind of get an idea like cost and that sort of thing?
Okay, so I'll first want to start off with like, guys, just always make sure that you're clean. So shower beforehand, wipe your ass, right? Cut your nails, because those things, sometimes there's some people who just really stink, and it's unfortunate because they got to be told they stink, and it's embarrassing for them. But clean yourself. But as far as gis are concerned, my first gi was a Fuji gi, and they're great, but like it did rip after a little bit of time. And a buddy of mine, Neho Burnett, he's a black belt now, big guy. I love Neho. He's awesome. He told me about Origin. Now, we're not sponsored by Origin or anything, but when I got my first Origin gi, that gi has lasted me for the past 5.5 years. And I've bought more Origin gis. I've had other gis too that they had a rip or whatever, but my Origin gis are still going. And I bought 2 more recently. So I would say they're a little bit more expensive. They have ones that start at like maybe $150 or $170 or whatever, and they have some that go all the way up to like $200, $300. But thing is it's much better to get a gi like that that'll last you years versus getting yourself a slightly cheaper gi or a gi from another brand that within 2 years you have to replace it. My Origin gis are still strong. And the cool thing is my upper body has a different sizing than my lower body because my lower body is generally bigger.
We know about that lower body.
Oh, yeah. That small dick, big legs.
Freaking penis pump over there. There it is.
Male enhancement. You don't need that, do you?
Maybe I do.
What?
Maybe at one time in my career.
Nah, seriously, guys. You get a little thicker. Get that penis pump.
Link in description.
But yeah, like you can customize your gi top and get a different gi bottom so it fits you perfectly. So, man, I Origin, where are you at? But I love them. They're such high quality gis and they last forever. So
and they hurt.
Fucking get it.
They're lighter, right? Like
that's Jocko Willink, right?
Jocko Willink, yeah, Jocko's company.
He's making boots and all kinds of stuff. I think jeans. He's getting into all kinds of stuff. He's making.
Yeah. And that's, you're right. The gi top feels lighter. It actually is lighter, and they've done a great job.
Yeah, and then like when it comes to competing, when you weigh in, you have to weigh in with your gi, right? Yeah, so I would want the lightest one possible.
See that little loophole? Yep. It's light, but the thing is, it's light, but it's durable as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
So some of these gis are super thick, but again, after a year or two, you got to replace it.
Do you wear a mouth guard?
Hell no.
No? Okay.
Nasal breathing, man. Some people wear mouth guards because, I mean, sometimes somebody's knee might hit your mouth or whatever. Or it's like some people also have a tendency of bearing down on their teeth. That's why we talk about relaxing the face. Bill Maeda, love you, man. But relaxing your face, I don't find that I ever need a mouth guard. And I also found that it's harder to breathe through my nose when I have a mouth guard on. So I don't use a mouth guard. But some people do. So maybe try it out, see if it works for you.
Yeah, a couple weeks back, I took a knee to the jaw. And it was kind of like one of those like, like situations where like my mouth was kind of open, so like I didn't hit my teeth, but it just like was like a in my jaw, and I'm like, oh, I'm like that's probably not good. And so part of that is I was mouth breathing, so that's on me. But also like I just wasn't ready for a fucking knee to the face.
Yeah.
Which did two things. One, it made me get a mouth guard and start focusing on more nasal breathing. But also it was like, oh God, there's a movie. God damn, I'm not gonna remember the movie, but where they watch the football teams, the soccer teams in it's like hooligans or some shit like that.
I have no idea.
Anyway, where they fight on the street before each soccer game or football game. And the fucking character, I forgot his name. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at telling this, but he basically says he got in his first fight and he got punched. And he was like, then you realize your chin's not made of glass. And so it made him super confident to go fuck more people up. This is kind of one of the situations where I'm like, I just took a knee to the jaw and like, we're still going. I felt it later. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
But after that, my wife was like, yeah, you need a mouth guard because teeth are expensive. And we don't want to make any weird like expenses just because you don't want to wear mouth guards.
It's probably useful, but again, like I used a mouth guard for a little bit and I just found that I was bearing down on it and my face wasn't relaxed, and because of that my body wasn't as relaxed. So I was like, fuck mouth guards. So I think it's something where you be careful, use one if you want to, but pay attention. Are you finding that you're bearing down on it, or is it helping you relax?
Yeah,
I think it's the one after this one, but just hit play and
it's this.
Oh damn! He actually came in from the side.
Or it's another one other than this?
Yeah. There's,
gosh, okay.
This is like a compilation, I believe.
Like,
does he do it again?
I'm gonna fuck you.
Oh my
No, I think it's just a little replay.
That's not cool.
Like that was like kind of a passionate kiss. Yeah, here's the other one. I think you need to back up a tiny bit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's cold, man.
It's quick reaction.
Hey, that punch was deserved.
I think so.
He deserved that punch. Wow.
Oh my God.
I wonder like what happened. Like, did they fight, you know? Like, because the guy's like knocked out. Did they wait like 10 minutes and then let the guy fight again? Or
yeah, who knows? I mean,
he's saying, I'm not gay.
Yeah, I would imagine it was DQ'd, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Man, if you're the guy who ends up getting kissed, it's like you have to do something. You can't just stand here there like a punk. Like at that point, it's like either I'm gonna make out with you right now, or I'm gonna have to punch you. It's one of the two.
Yeah, they probably should have made out.
And he laughed.
That was so good.
All right, maybe you don't have to. Maybe you could just.
Dude,
this was solid.
Oh, damn! That's great. The first guy kind of played chicken. The other guy's like, sure.
Yeah, the first guy went 90. He went 100.
You know what? I think that is actually the safest bet.
Just
Let's kiss
right
the dude
back.
back and pat him on the head. Yeah.
That was great. I did not see that coming. I remember Kyle Kingsbury used to wear like a Speedo for his weigh-ins. And I think it said like, damn it. It was something like make America gay again or something like that. Like it was fucking awesome.
That actually goes with the whole thing.
It's like a rain.
I hope the LGBTQ community takes that and does something with it. Makes their own MAGA hat. Just make America gay again. I think that'd be awesome.
That's true. They could.
Let's see if I can find it before we get out of here.
That hat.
You're trying to find Kyle Kingsbury in a Speedo?
Yeah,
that's not a difficult thing to do.
No, here it is.
He goes around Austin, Texas, not wearing any clothes.
Other than a Speedo?
Pretty much.
I feel
hard to. Damn it!
I
Let me
think
see if
it
I can
says
find a
I
better
feel
one.
very gay. It's got gay plaster on both butt cheeks. Let's go, Kyle. That boy thick with 3 C's.
Amazing.
What does it say though?
I don't know. I'm gonna try to figure it out.
It's like a little blurry.
Look at that glute ham tie-in though.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go, Kyle.
Not too shabby.
Bends over for gay marriage. Oh, okay. Oh, it says legalize gay.
Oh,
there's somewhere where it's illegal. Oh,
this was a while back when he was UFC.
Big tip, and Andrew's been doing this, but take some wipes to your school, because if you got to have an interim shit, you know, with jiu-jitsu and you're sweating on that toilet, you don't want to use normal toilet paper, right? I have a wet wipe in my bag for that reason. If I got a shit in between like rolls or whatever,
It's weird when you're really sweaty and you got to take a dump. Like a sweaty dump.
Yeah,
is
what
like,
is that?
It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah, like the toilet paper just like is almost non-existent.
Gets
It just
chewed up.
fucking yeah.
I had to do that at a sauna yesterday.
Oh.
Like, it was like 30 minutes my sauna session, my stomach goes, I'm like, oh no.
At least you didn't shit in the sauna again.
Yeah, I didn't do it again.
Yeah.
I went to the bathroom this time.
That was a thing. I was telling all my boys at Waza
I didn't do this at
about,
Asha, by the way.
Okay, that's good.
I did that. Yeah, I shat in another sauna, not Asha. So.
Yeah, telling the guys at Waza about the second wave, and they're just like explaining the whole thing. You know, like you're all good. You took a shit, and then you're like, time to start the day, and then your body's like, nah, we got some more. And they're like, dude, that makes so much sense. So now in the mornings, it's kind of like a mad dash to the bathroom because nobody wants to smell each other's shit. So it's just like, hey, what's up? As you're like walking towards the bathroom, everyone's like, fuck, I gotta get here earlier then.
Nobody's going to get any rolls in. Everyone's just going to be shitting the whole time.
Toilet paper rolls.
Take us on out of here, Andrew.
All right, make sure you guys stick around for Smelly's tip before we get out of here. But let us know what you guys think about today's episode in the comments, and drop some comments whether you're about to start jiu-jitsu, you just did, something you've been thinking about. Let us know what you guys are thinking. Subscribe if you guys are not subscribed already. Hit that like button on the way out. And follow the podcast at MB Power Project on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. My Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. Links to everything that we ever talk about is down in the description. And Nsima, where you at?
I don't know why. In my mind, I just heard Smelly's tip. Or
Smelly's
Smelly's. This is chord descriptions in the below. I can't speak now.
What?
Discord is below. Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, and Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Marky Mark.
There's like a speedometer thing in neighborhood I was running in, so I was like, let me see.
Sick.
You know what? Like, let me just give it a go here. So I just wanted to try to run as fast as the all-time record holder in the marathon, who did it for 2 hours straight.
Yeah.
Eliud Kipchoge. He did like a 2 hour and 1 minute marathon, which is just like, that's just insanity. I was able to hold it for maybe, I don't know, 0.2 of a second. He's holding on to it for like 2 hours. So I hit 13, and I had my my nephew do it today with me too, because I was like, this would be a good way to ploy him out, to get him out for a run.
Yeah.
And so Hamish Hambone, he did 11 miles per hour, and then he went out again later, and he just texted me just now. He's like, I did 13, so he's all hyped up.
Wow.
So, you know, just figure out ways to like make the shit that you're doing, figure out ways of making it fun. And I've mentioned this kind of stuff before. When I'm running, I might like jog in different areas. If I'm wearing my like 5-finger shoes, like I'll run on grass a lot. So I'll run on, I'm not running on people's property, but I'll run, you know, wherever there's grass that I can run on. I try to run like in soccer fields and things like that during my run. Just makes it more enjoyable. It changes it up. I got to kind of run slower and run differently, because I never even really thought about this with soccer fields, but not all soccer fields are the same. They're not all like, they're not all super like flat and super even. So it challenges the ankles and stuff like that. So just try to figure out ways of making whatever it is that you're working on. Try to figure out ways to make it fun. And in addition to that, did you almost kill yourself?
I broke a rock on my mat. This thing is heavy. I love this thing.
It's about a pound.
Your little kettlebell.
It's like a fidget spinner. Sorry, keep on.
The other thing to keep in mind when things are new is to just not do that much of it. So when I was running the other day and I was working on some sprints, I was like, I should do like, that felt really good. But I wanted to do 4 sprints, and I got to 5, and I still wanted to do another one. And I was like, no, because like usually the last one is like where you go, I was just going to do one more and I got hurt. So I was like, nope, I already exceeded the amount that I even wanted to do. I haven't been practicing sprinting. So just, you know, when it's time to pack it up, it's time to pack it up, and that's it. And same thing goes with jiu-jitsu or anything else you're trying. You're only going to get so good at it in one day. You know, work on having the ability to come back for another day. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.